When we think of the figure of Satan, or Iblis in the Islamic tradition, what usually comes to mind? Well, it's the ultimate symbol of evil, right? The very picture of prideful rebellion against God. But what if that's not the whole story? What if, buried deep within the world of Islamic mysticism, there's a completely different and frankly unsettling portrait of him?
This is the wild, paradoxical question we're going to dive into today. We're going to explore the idea that the one act that's seen as the origin of all cosmic evil, that refusal to bow to Adam, might actually be seen in another light, as, believe it or not, a tragic and unwavering act of devotion to the absolute unity of God. So, to get our heads around this, we need a roadmap. We'll start with the traditional story, the one most of us know. Then we'll get into the radical Sufi reinterpretation. After that, we'll need to understand the core principle behind it, a concept called Tawhid. We'll look at the impossible choice Iblis was facing, consider the incredible price of his decision, and we'll end by asking a question that's relevant to all of us. What does it really mean to be obedient?
All right, let's start on common ground. We need to first lay out the foundational story, the orthodox view of Iblis's fall that has been the standard for centuries. This is the version you'll hear most often.
So, the story is pretty straightforward. God creates Adam, the first human, and commands all the angels to bow down before him. But one being, Iblis, refuses, flat out. And his reason? Pure pride, what's called kibr in Arabic, and jealousy, or hasad. He literally argues his case, saying, "You created me from fire and him from clay." He thinks he's superior. In this telling, that act of defiance is the big bang of evil. It's the moment it all enters the cosmic picture.
Okay, now, let's take a sharp turn. We're leaving that well-trodden path and heading into the much more complex, winding alleyways of Sufi mysticism, where this story gets a radical, and I mean radical, reinterpretation.
So you have the exact same event, seen through two completely different lenses. In the Orthodox view, it's an act of pride, a rebellion, the birth of evil. But in the Sufi view, the very same act is reframed as an act of love. It's seen as the ultimate defense of God's unity, a triumph of principle, and a deeply tragic act of devotion. The motive is completely flipped on its head. And this leads to an absolutely shocking title that some Sufi mystics gave Iblis, the Muwahhid par excellence. That means the greatest monotheist, or the champion of unity. Think about that. Thinkers like Halak al-Mansur argued that Iblis was so uncompromising in his belief in God's oneness that he was willing to defy a direct order from God himself just to protect that higher eternal principle.
So how on earth can you build an argument like that? How can defiance be seen as faith? Well, to even begin to understand it, we have to grasp the single most important concept in all of Islamic theology, the principle of Tawhid. Now, Tawhid is more than just saying there is one God. It's not just a number. It's a profound statement about authority. It's the core belief that all worship, all devotion, all prostration, every last bit of it is due only to God. No created being, no matter how amazing or important, is worthy of the kind of submission that belongs to the Creator alone.
This chart really helps clarify the difference. Monotheism is about quantity. It answers the question, how many gods are there? Easy, one. But Tawhid is about authority. It asks a totally different question. Whose word is absolute law? It's not about counting. It's about the exclusive, unrivaled nature of divine authority. And it's this very principle that, in the Sufi view, put Iblis in an impossible bind. Okay, so now that we have a handle on Tawhid, we can really see the tragic conflict that Iblis was supposedly caught in. He was basically tested with a conflict between two divine ideas, a specific, one-time command versus an eternal, unbreakable principle.
Let's walk through the logic here. On one hand, you have the eternal rule, worship God alone, period. That's Tawhid. On the other hand, you have a temporary command for a specific situation, bow to Adam, a creature. So what does Iblis do? He chooses the eternal principle over the temporary command. He upholds his loyalty to God's essence over God's specific instruction. And the consequence for making that choice? Eternal damnation. It's a cosmic catch-22.
This quote from the mystic Halak al-Mansur just nails it. It reframes the whole situation. Iblis's refusal isn't "I'm better than him." Instead, it's a declaration of exclusive love. My worship is for you and only you. I will not dilute it by bowing to anyone or anything else. You could almost see it as the act of a jealous lover who refuses to even look at another. This brings us to the real heart of this whole narrative, the idea of Iblis as a tragic figure who sacrifices absolutely everything for his belief. The price he paid for this unbending love is just staggering, and it's what makes this interpretation so powerful.
Just think about what he gave up. He lost his high rank among the angels. He lost his closeness to God, that divine intimacy. And in its place he accepted being cursed forever, eternally separated from the very one he was so devoted to. So here's the kicker. He sacrificed God's favor in order to uphold God's own principle. In this view, his fall isn't a punishment, it's a sacrifice. He's a being who lost everything for the sake of one all-consuming love.
And then you have this quote from the theologian Ahmed Ghazali, which is just designed to shock you. On the surface, it sounds completely blasphemous. But what he's getting at is that Iblis provides the ultimate, most extreme lesson in Tawhid. He shows a willingness to get rid of everything, even a direct command from God, even his own salvation, that might stand between a worshiper and the absolute pure unity of the one being worshipped.
So, after wading through all of that, these two completely opposite interpretations, it forces us to step back and reflect. What can this ancient debate really teach us about our own ideas of faith, loyalty, and what it means to obey? Now, of course, this radical Sufi idea didn't just go unchallenged. So, for the sake of balance, let's look at the powerful counter-argument. Orthodox scholars would say that real love, true faith, isn't about interpreting principles for yourself. It's about unconditional submission. It's about obeying every command from the one you love without questioning why. From this perspective, Iblis didn't defend Tawhid at all. He just fell into the trap of intellectual pride, thinking he knew better than God. He failed the test.
And so, this incredibly complex story of Iblis leaves us with a question that is as relevant today as it ever was. What is true obedience? Is it following the letter of the law, the external command, no matter what? Or is it about understanding the spirit of the law, the eternal principle behind it, and being faithful to that, even if it means breaking a specific rule? This isn't just a theological puzzle. It's a fundamental dilemma we all face in our own lives, and it's one that deserves some serious thought.